What do you think the raven symbolizes?
Well, he could symbolize loneliness because the maiden died. I researched that topic and it says that he's lost someone dear to him. Have any other ideas?
I think that it's supposed to represent sort of like loss, sort of, and how like he mentions the character Lenore a lot, and like if he's like wondering, is she finally coming back to me? And so I think he's just got this huge sense of loss in him, and when the raven comes, he thinks that it's gonna help him, but then it makes him feel even more lonely and lostful, and so then he infers like, oh, I feel absolutely horrible now. This must be a demon trying to make me feel guilty.
I agree with Josh, just because he feels lonely, like he lost Lenore, almost like it was a wife or somebody he loved, and then he feels like it's there, but it's almost like a memory coming back, but it's not there.
Yeah, he keeps checking, like, to see if she's coming back or not. Like, he keeps going to his door to see if Lenore's there, because he wants her back, because he really misses her. And then he understands at the end of the story that the raven is just trying to trick him.
Yeah, and he's like never gotten over her, because for the raven, he wants to know if the raven knows anything like about that, but then he doesn't really get the right answer from it.
Mm-hmm. He talks a lot about the answer, like he's trying to figure out what that means, what nevermore means. Like that's all the raven says.
Yeah.
So throughout the story, he's trying to find out what that means,
Yeah, I
and
think
it
that.
drove him mad.
Yeah.
And he progresses and thinks that the raven is devil.
What do you think is the significance of how the author uses the end lines of the story, like, only this and nothing more, tap, tap, tapping at my door, nameless here forevermore, his soul be lifted, nevermore? How do you think that helps the story move along, and what do they mean?
I think it adds like some tension to it, because they don't know what's gonna happen next and what the bird is going to say, and like you're just trying to figure out like what's going to happen in the end.
I think it makes him a little bit insane because he's, like tapping. If you hear that, your head's starting to spin and everything, and it's just everything's starting to make him go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when all that tapping, the reason it's like I think it adds a lot of like suspense and like what Alex said about you don't know what's gonna happen next, and I think that's why it's a horror poem or whatever.
Yeah. It's in all of Edgar Allan's stories. Like, they're all about this guy going insane about one little thing. This one, yeah.
Well, he's experienced lots of loss, so that one little thing could put him over the edge.
Yeah. What is the mood of this story, and how does it change?
Well, it starts off pretty normal, like a normal day, but then it kind of turns into like a dream almost when the raven starts talking, and then he's going insane. He's kind of going away from his body, like far-fetched. So
I agree with Bennett, because for the beginning of it, like nothing's really happening except that he hears a tapping on his window or door, and then at the end of it, it's like something bad is going to happen, or like the mood changes a lot in between the middle and the beginning and the end, and the middle part's just like all the suspense building up to the end.
Okay, in the first paragraph in the third line, it says, "While I nodded, nearly napping." Do you think that means it was almost like a dream, or do you think he almost thought it was a dream, or what do you think it was?
well, sometimes it's he was almost asleep. You know how you almost fall asleep and then you think you're like in a dream. That's happened to me before when you wake up, but I think that's what he could be going through.
Yeah. Like, when he goes to his door, it's imagery, so I think he just imagines the raven there. I don't think anything's actually there, because the raven basically just symbolizes loneliness and his lost, like Lenore, I think it's a little girl or something. And it says like that he keeps going back to his door and nothing's there.
I agree with Logan because the whole story, the raven, I don't think the raven, same with Logan, I don't think the raven's actually there because all the tapping and like that stuff can make him hallucinate because he's missing the character Lenore so bad.
I have to agree with Alex and Logan because it says in the first line, once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. I think this shows that he's been thinking and like trying to figure stuff out for a long time, and then it just builds up with while I nodded nearly napping, so he's just been thinking so hard and getting tireder and tireder until he doesn't really know reality from unreality, I guess.
I disagree with you three because I think he sees the bird and he sees the resemblance, but the bird doesn't have to do anything with, you know, the demonic whatever. I just think he sees it and he kind of goes through his memories.
I agree with Trent. I think that it's just like a normal crow just sitting there, and he's like really tired, and he's just pretty much like he's sad and he's tired and he's thinking of what like if the bird is taunting him or stuff like that.
Well, he did go into detail saying that the bird could have been raised by someone who was sad also, and that person taught the bird the word nevermore. So he went into detail towards the middle of that.
I think Trent brings up a good point because it just talks about how he just like the raven didn't like wouldn't mean much to other people, but to him he just makes all this bridges with his mind, like it must mean this and this and this, and I think that's why the author states he was pondering because he was wondering about it, and then when the raven come, he applies the thoughts he was just thinking about, like Lenore and all this stuff, to the raven, and thinks like, well, this raven must mean this, this, and this.
I agree with Trent, like now, because it seems the raven could be a plausible solution, but he might have been hallucinating the words and what it was saying.
So it was both parts of it. He was hallucinating, but the raven was still there.
I agree with that.
What theme did you see in this story?
Well, he kind of like, the theme of the story is like, don't always keep thinking about one thing, move on. But he never moves on and he goes insane because he keeps thinking about his loss, but he really just needs to move on.
Yeah, I agree with Logan. I know when you lose somebody, a lot of people, they think a ton about it for a long time, and then you feel sad and depressed for such a long time. I feel like he just needs to move on with his life.
Yeah, you two just took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was just gonna say. He kind of just feels depressed for too long. He just needs to move on, and then life will get better.
Okay, so at the end of the story, at the end of the story, it says, and the raven, never flitting, still sitting, still is sitting. And then on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. So it says that he's dreaming. So what do you think those three lines mean?
Well, his imagination is definitely taking the best of him here because he's comparing a bird to a demon, and he's thinking that the bird is like trying to make him mad. So that's what I think.
I agree with Bennett because the bird might have just been like following him to make him remember of what like he did bad or something like that, and so they're trying to figure out like what the raven's meaning about Nevermore and that stuff at the end of the passages.
I think what I said about him making bridges in his mind fits with this, because I think the raven like symbolizes his horrible memories of how he has lost Lenore, and so it's saying, and the raven never flitting, still is sitting, I still have these memories. And then I think when he compares it to a demon, he's like saying like the raven and thoughts that this demon took Lenore away from me, and it still's there, still in my mind, still making me remember